Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast. Joined by EJ. Andrew is probably putting kids to bed and he'll be with us shortly. EJ and I are going to be diving into the running back class. But before we do that, EJ, how are things going on your Thursday night?
Thursday night is good. I got football on in the background. It's nice fall weather out here in Philly, so I'm surviving. I'm doing all right.
Yeah, and like my son's here watching the Bengals game, and it is the coolest thing because like for the first 50 whatever years of my life, I watched every football game by myself, and now my son has become a football fan, so he is over. He doesn't usually stay over on school nights. He's over on a school night. It's really cool. He's sitting right over here next to me, quietly listening to me podcast while he has his eyes on the Bengals game.
That's cool. That's cool. Is he a Bills fan too?
Bills, Bengals, Lions. At one point, he would be wearing a Bengals shirt with brown Zubaz, but that ended. He didn't know, but that's okay. Like, he's having fun, and it doesn't matter to me what team he likes. He sits down with me and he watches football.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yep. Haven't quite got. He doesn't get into college yet. He'll watch NFL games with me. He hasn't quite gotten into.
He'll get there. Yeah. Tell him to tune into the podcast. He'll get there.
Yep. Yep. So we're going to be talking about several running backs, and we're going through 8 running backs a podcast. We covered 8 last week. I believe 4 or 5 of the 8 last week had draftable grades. It's going to be something similar today. Jeremiah Cobb, Jeremiah Cobb from Auburn, Kevorian Barnes from TCU, Star Thomas from Tennessee, Aidan Laughery from Illinois, Le'Veon Moss from Texas A&M, Rahsul Faison from South Carolina, Noah Whittington from Oregon, then Kaytron Allen from Penn State. Each week, the running backs will get a little bit better. On average, 25 running backs get drafted. We will be podcasting on approximately 40. So there's definitely going to be some undrafted players that are on our podcast list. But that being said, we're going to start with Jeremiah Cobb from Auburn. EJ, what did you have on Jeremiah Cobb?
So I watched him versus Georgia, and I watched him versus Oklahoma. This is a guy I watched over the summertime, and I singled him out. I thought he was going to have a breakout year. Like, when I say breakout year, I thought he was just going to establish himself as a name to know in the draft community, which he sort of has done that already. I expect him to get more carries now that his teammate Damari Alston is now in the program. So I expect him to get a heavier workload. I hope he gets a heavier workload. What he is a 4-star athlete coming out of high school. He's got a background in track. He ran a 800-meter dash. Pretty much he does stand out. He had 23 yards per kick return last year in 2024. That was 3rd in the SEC. So first and foremost, he brings special teams value as a kick returner. He's a good – first thing you notice about him is he's a good athlete, loose, fluid mover, and he has power in his running ability. He's explosive laterally and going forward. His speed is more of long stride type of speed. Like 10.8 is nothing. He's not blazing fast 40 or anything like that. But it's about, I think he'll top out like around in the 4 or 5 range, somewhere like that. But he's got long strides, so it's easy to misjudge how fast he's really going. So that allows him to break some tackling angles. He's got upper body strength. He's got a lot of leg drive. He runs with a lot of determination. He breaks tackles where he doesn't make anybody miss. He doesn't really force people to miss, though he can do that. But he breaks a lot of tackles by running through them, by leg drive and just sheer willpower. I watched him against, like, he has the one thing I watch for my running backs. Can you make something out of nothing? Can you get something on your own? He does have that ability to get yardage on his own. For example, It was a play. It was an outside zone against Oklahoma, and it completely got blew up. Oklahoma completely blew it up. As soon as he touched the ball, he had a defender in his face. So the play was supposed to be a 3-yard loss, but he fought through the tackles. He broke tackles. He made guys miss, and it was only a 2-yard gain. But you turned a negative play into a positive play, and that was simply all on his own, all his talent alone, because the blocking failed him. So I look for that type of that type of skill set to where you can make yardage on your own. And then I look for, are you running back that is able to sustain drives? When I say that, can you get the hard yards? Can you get the 3 yards here, 3 yards here, 4 yards here, and then you break one? Can you keep the team on schedule, keep the team in front of the sticks by getting those type of yards? That is to be determined with him yet. We pretty much just don't have enough volume of carries to see, and he hasn't shown that in the film that I have watched. But that comes with vision, more patience. That's one thing I want to like to see him run with, a little bit more vision, a little bit more patience. He needs to widen his spectrum of vision. When I say widen your spectrum of vision, just don't look at where you want the hole to be or where you're looking for the hole. Keep your eye out for the cutback. Keep your eye out front side to see where, if defenders are being kicked out or something like that, because there are multiple holes where you can get through the defense. I would like to see him develop more with that. That would come with more carries. I don't like the offensive environment that he's in. It's not the best. They don't have a true passing threat with Jackson Arnold at quarterback there. Offensive line doesn't do him any favors. Connor Lew is a good player, but he's one of 5. And we need the whole offensive line to be on the same page, and not all there yet. But basically, we need just more reps from this guy. We'd like to see him more patience, but he definitely has the skills. He has the breakaway speed. He has the athleticism to be definitely a draftable player in the NFL and definitely have a role.
So do you see him as draftable right now, EJ?
Yeah, I see Jeremiah Cobb as draftable. I think he has a baseline as a special teams player, as like a kick returner. That'll get him on the 53 roster. And then he'll go from there as far as what his work ethic is. He has the talent to be a rotation running back in the NFL, but is he going to put in the work? We just have to see how he develops.
Got it. Andrew, what did you see on Jeremiah Cobb from Auburn?
I saw a lot of what EJ saw, so I won't repeat a lot of that. But I will add, I thought about it. I didn't get to use it at all last week. And one of my favorite things I get to call a running back or a wide receiver, and I stole it from if you play NBA 2K, anybody, they have the badges for the players. And I don't know why. I thought of this a couple years ago, and I always use it in evaluations. Microwave, where like a player in the game is able to heat up real quick. Cobb got that from me, where I feel like anytime he gets the ball, the burst is there right away. He doesn't take a long time to get from 0 to 60 if you're talking about cars. And you see that in the return game. You see that when he gets some open space. I put that on there. Good burst to get to the second level. I think that was a bless you.
Thank you.
And I also had it like underlined 5 times. I wish they would use him in the receiving game, because the potential is there for him. I think he has 2 catches on the year. Like, he deserves to get some receiving work, and he's just not getting it. And like you talked about, EJ, that being a passing game in Auburn, in reality, like, yeah, Jackson Arnold's not great, but like, you've got Cobb out of the backfield. You've got Cam Coleman out wide. You got Eric Singleton out wide. Like, you have all these pieces for Auburn to have this effective passing game, and it's just not happening. And you would think with a Hugh Freeze offense, you would have that, especially with a running back. You want to get some dual threat going, but it's just not happening. He screams to me he's going to be a better pro than he was a college player. And that's not to say he's bad now. I just think Auburn's holding him back at this point. I think once he gets to kind of show himself to an NFL staff, I think he'd be a all-star game darling, because I think they're going to be able to put him in all those situations he's not been in, like the receiving work, and maybe put him in some other situations. Get him in the combine, get some testing. I think the sky's not the limit, but I think it's definitely higher than what Auburn is kind of painting the picture of for him at this point. So that was just a couple more notes I had on mine. So, and EJ stole my thunder dropping the high school track notes and everything like that. So I would appreciate it, Jim, if you lead with me from now on so I can drop it. And then EJ can pick up the scraps.
Fine.
Arrangements can be made.
Gotcha. It's all right. But no, I'm glad that we're getting to that, though.
Well, you see, and Andrew, so Andrew, you said something that I was going to say, but like as I was listening to EJ and then listening to you begin, Andrew, I'm like, okay, this is somebody that needs a Senior Bowl or a Shrine Bowl.
Yeah.
Because there's probably a good chance he needs a quarterback that knows how to throw to a running back. Right? Like it's Jackson Arnold's the quarterback for Auburn, right?
Right.
And I remembered the preseason discussions of Auburn are this team was set up for Jackson Arnold to succeed. Can Jackson Arnold unlock it? And it sounds like Jackson Arnold might still be looking for that key.
Yeah, that door is still locked. So
yeah, like I pulled up
not
to box score scout here. Like first game of the year, 24 for 28, 251 yards against Ball State. And obviously, no offense to Ball State, the alma mater, David Letterman, that's great. But the last three games against Oklahoma, A&M, and Georgia, 220 yards, 125 yards, 137 yards. When you're having that little production, running backs aren't getting those targets. At that point, you've got to try to push the ball down the field, and that's not where Cobb's going to be, obviously. But I think, like you said, All-Star game, I think that's his key to kind of being put to the next level of his development.
Okay. So, Andrew, next player. And this is one of my favorites. So, I was watching the TCU North Carolina game. It was the Monday night opener, Bill Belichick's college coaching debut. And there was a running back from TCU that kept getting the ball, and he looked like a bowling ball. Kevorian Barnes against North Carolina was running over a few people. So, I do my Google search, who's Kevorian Barnes, and figure out what year he's. Oh, he's in the draft, but nobody mentioned him during summer scouting. So I love that he even made the scouting report list. Whether he gets drafted or not, I'm going to love everything Andrew and EJ have to say about him. But Andrew, what do you see when you look at Kevorian Barnes from TCU?
Quick background note, since I get to lead with that this time. Three-star recruit, transferred from UTSA, where he was the freshman of the year in 2022. As far as notes on him, he was a downhill runner. Like you talked about, Jim, the North Carolina game was the first one I turned on because I remember from when we did one of the TCU game previews with Josh Hoover and Jonathan Dwyer and stuff like that. That was the game I watched. And I remember I was trying to watch it for Jonathan Dwyer targets, and they just kept feeding the ball to Barnes. Like you said, it was just nonstop. Let's ram it down their throat. And good size for the position, can be a physical runner, can get slim when he has to between the line of scrimmage. You don't see that from a lot of he's 5'9", 220, and I don't have an official verified size on him. I feel like he could maybe be a little bit bigger in a rare instance. Maybe not height-wise, but size-wise. Really thought he has underrated pass blocking ability, decent vision, like I said. They don't really use him much in receiving work, which I don't think that's really what he's built for either. I would like to see him kind of get a little bit more moves in space. Cutback ability could be a little bit better. But for what they need him to do, which is, like I said, just run between the tackles, pick up 3-4 yards, fall forward, keeps his legs moving like I talked about last week a lot. He checks all those boxes. And for the TCU offense, who likes to push the ball down the field with Hoover, Barnes is that nice smash mouth on first and second down, maybe even third down in short yard situations. And then, obviously, once everyone gets into the box, then you can take the top off the defense with Hoover. So it works well for what TCU is trying to do. They're a fun team to watch this year on offense, and Barnes is definitely a part of that.
And do you have a draftable grade on him?
I have him. He just was under there. So, I mean, he's a UDFA for me at this point, but that's not the kiss of death for running backs either. Like there's several guys who have like UDFAs for me every year where I'm like, if you just get in the right spot, magic can happen. And he would definitely be one of those guys.
Got it. EJ, what do you have in Kevorian Barnes from TCU?
So, yeah, much of what Andrew said. This guy, he had 49 carries so far this year, 49 carries for 285 yards, averaging 5.8 yards per carry. That's not bad at all, close to 6 yards per carry. And like Andrew said, his high school background, he's a former track athlete. He played baseball, basketball, and powerlifting. So that's where the 220 comes from. Yeah, that's where the 220 comes from. This guy's a power lifter. And you see that in his running style. He has that natural play strength that a lot of these short and thick running backs have. So, and also state champion 4x200 relay. So he can run a little bit as well. So what I envision this guy as, I mean, he's a guy that he'll be maybe like day 3 or priority UDFA, but he's that type of player that you could see run for 1,000 yards in like a Kyle Shanahan offense. Like you get a one cut, get downhill, like outside zone, inside zone, where he can just pick a hole and get downhill and get yardage. He'll excel in that role like easily. Like what I would like to see, they don't use him like that's a theme with these running backs for tonight. A lot of them are not used as receivers, but that doesn't mean that they can't do it. It's just that it means their offense doesn't ask them to do it. With him, like it doesn't seem like I think he can do it. I think he because the few passes that they do throw to him, like he extends his hands, he catches the ball like a wide receiver. He extends his hands, he snatches the ball out of the air. So I do think there's upside as a receiver there. What I would like to see from him is just a little bit more patience, because like when he's getting the ball, he's ready to go right now. He's ready to go downhill, and sometimes that leads to him running up the back of his offensive lineman. And they always say if you see a running back running up the back of his offensive lineman, that means he doesn't have vision. So sometimes he'll run to his offensive lineman. I would say he has that type of burst to where he can be patient a little bit behind the line of scrimmage, like and press the line of scrimmage a little bit, a second before he hits the hole, and it probably would be a cleaner hole for him to get to. He runs with power, he runs with speed and burst. He's a guy, but it's just that I wouldn't say his change of direction is very dynamic. He's more of a downhill, straight line type of guy. But I think there's a place for him in the NFL. But it's just that the running back is so replaceable that kind of knocks down the draft stock of these running backs. But I think he's going to find his way onto a 53.
Awesome. Okay, Star Thomas from Tennessee. EJ, what do you have?
So I watched him versus Georgia, watched him versus Syracuse, and I watched him versus Arkansas. And so this is a guy that started off hot. Syracuse, you look at him and like, oh wow, this guy's a player. But but his carries get lower and lower and lower as the season goes on. His production goes lower as the season goes on. Typically, really nobody knows why. One of the beat writers at Tennessee, they wrote articles, and they've got the running backs coach at the podium. They asked about Star Thomas's production, why the dip in his production, and he said that Star isn't seeing things the way that the coaching staff wants him to see it. I don't know what that means. I'm guessing that they're questioning maybe his vision or hitting the holes or something like that. But it's something the coaching staff wants more out of him. That's why his production has gone down a little bit. This is a 5th-year senior, so he'll be an older rookie if he makes it to the league. 62 carries for 328 yards. That's 5 yards per carry. What it is with him is a lot of his production. When you look at Syracuse, a lot of his production, you got to give a lot of credit to his offensive line, because he excels with gap scheme runs. He's running counter, running pin pull, running power. That offensive line Tennessee's offensive line against Syracuse, they really did a good job of opening holes for him because a lot of his big chunk plays, he was untouched until like 5, 10, 20 yards past the line of scrimmage. I mean, give him credit because he's hitting the hole and he's showing the speed to get out there. But it's nothing that he really did. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for what's his special trait, what's his superpower, and I struggled to find it really, what exactly his superpower is. He looks like he has decent burst, he has decent power. I don't necessarily think like his change of direction and foot quickness is anything special. But he's a guy that you can hand the ball off, you can get downhill with him. You on those gap schemes and run schemes, he can get you positive yardage. I just didn't see any wild trait that just stands out with him. But he still seems to be he's got the talent to be productive. As far as being drafted, I'm not sure. He'll probably have to go the UDFA route.
Andrews, Star Thomas from Tennessee.
I had a lot of the same, not like wow as I'm watching him type of takeaways as EJ did. He also had a UDFA grade from me. I did appreciate, like I did my background first versus doing my background notes 5 minutes before the show this week. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I saw was that he was a 0-star recruit, came from New Mexico State, went to Duke, and then ends up at Tennessee. So he's been around, but like anytime there's a 0-star on a guy and they can make it the whole way to a Tennessee, clearly the work ethic's there. So I think that's something that he has in his back pocket. Like you talked about EJ seeing that beat reporter talking about he's not seen it the way they want to. I think it's hard for, not to make an excuse for him, I think it's hard for any running back in an air raid offense to necessarily kind of get their foot in the door, especially with the way Josh Heupel and as well as Aguilar's been playing down in Tennessee. But that being said, I thought he was pretty good in his physical aspects. I watched, I think it was Eastern Tennessee State. He seemed to be a little bit more physical in that game, dropped his shoulders a lot, a little bit more patient as a runner, stepped up as a pass blocker there, and good vision accompanying that patience I had down. So I think there's some promise there with him, like I said, again, and I'm also the hopeless romantic with so many players. Like I said, he's still a UDFA for me, but Sir Thomas was somebody that I thought flashed, but it's one of those things where I think he's doing the best with what he's got at this point. Maybe he goes to the next level and a coaching staff's able to kind of get a little bit more out of him. But it's hard when there's not that explosiveness to his game where you can say, okay, he can contribute in special teams or something to that aspect. So it's tough. I hate saying anything negative. I really do, but Star Thomas was a tough watch for me, if I'm being honest.
No, but you guys, okay, so it's tough to give like a UDFA grade, but you guys did that really well, right? Because you talked about who he is as a player. The grade's a UDFA, but I don't think we really said anything negative. We're just giving our assessment of the player.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and that's all we can. Like, we're not trying to get on here and say, "Oh, this guy sucks," and I just think this guy. That's not an evaluation to me. So, like, if a player is good at something, I'm going to say he's good at something. If he needs work on something, I'm going to say he needs work. But that's just an honest evaluation. And like, I mean, it may not get all the clicks, but like real evaluators got to respect it.
And like I said, if you can go from being a 0-star to ending up at Tennessee, you're doing something. Exactly. Well, even if it's not in the beauty of my eye as the beholder, he did enough for Josh Heupel, who's Tennessee's an SEC contender every year under him now. It was enough for him to be a part of that offense. So, like I said, it's not for me, but that doesn't mean it's not for nobody.
And going back to Star Thomas here for a second. So this would be an example also of another player where a Hula Bowl or a Shrine Bowl can do the player wonders because, I think it was Andrew that said it, but the Tennessee offense isn't the easiest offense to evaluate players in. So if you get into a different scheme, are you used in a different way? And, we don't necessarily know when he was transferring, was Tennessee the best offer he had? And if you have to choose, like you go to a Power 4 school, right? To your point,
Right.
Andrew, if you're working your way up, you have all these offers, you're going to go to the best Power 4 school, even if the scheme isn't a complete fit for you. I just think that's just you have Tennessee on your draft resume.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, and coming from where he's coming from, and if Tennessee comes calling, you're not going to say no.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
and real quick,
go
I
ahead.
was just looking just to see what Tennessee's done running back wise since Heupel's been there. And Jalen Wright was able to break through the ceiling there, but he had to average nearly 8 yards a carry to do it. So, I mean, he was special clearly, so that helps.
Yep. So, Andrew, the next running back is Aidan Laughery from Illinois. I know people loved him in the summer. My understanding is the Illinois running backs are not having as good of a year as we thought they would in the summer. But what do you think of Aidan Laughery for the NFL draft?
Yeah, him and Caden Fegan, I think, is the other one.
Yep.
That duo had a lot of hype. Really, Illinois in general. Not that they're having a bad year, but that offense as a whole, coming off of having a couple receivers drafted last year and then coming into this year, they thought they had a sneaky chance in the Big Ten, and obviously the wrecking ball that is Indiana came knocking. But no, I had them on here. Great size, 3-star running back. Did track in high school, missed most of his senior year in high school, his football season due to an injury. They didn't list what the injury was, but I put for his size and the way he moves, he can be sneaky athletic, I thought, at times, long strides as a runner, really strong as a runner and in pass blocking situations. I think that specifically is where I'm going to talk about pass blocking every time I can with a running back. If you're able to do that, that's going to be your foot on the door no matter where you get drafted. I don't care if it's to the most pass-happy offense in the NFL or the worst offense. They need pass blocking in the backfield, especially if you're on a team that has a bad offensive line. If you're able to pick up blitzers and stuff like that and not get knocked on your butt, then you're going to find somewhere to make it. Also, I had down here decent contact balance as well. Patience as a runner allows him to kind of pick up some extra yards at times and keeps his legs moving and falls forward. I did have some questions with his gas tank. I think that's more to do with how big he appears. Burst initially at the line isn't as great as some others. And I think he has some promise as a receiver in terms of his hands, but I think the way he moves and his route running out of the backfield and his hips turning upfield might be a little bit more difficult. But no, I like I said, there are some sneaky traits for a team to take and kind of find some work with there with Laughery.
EJ, where are you with Aidan Laughery from Illinois?
He's a tough watch because you don't get enough of him.
Yeah.
He hasn't had more than 9 carries in a game yet. So it's like you using him here and there. I watched him versus Ohio State. He had 3 touches in the first half, and the rest come in the second half. So there's no way to really judge how really what he is because you don't see enough of him. But from the little that we have seen, he's got some real quickness, got some real movement ability in space. He's a guy that can stack moves together. If he's navigating through the defensive line, he can make a jump cut and then do a dead leg or something like that, and it'd be back to back, and he can still keep his balance and still keep moving. He has real quickness with his acceleration. I think the way he is now, I think of him as possibly. Well, first of all, I would hope that he goes back to school and gets more production. But if he's coming out, I would think of him as more of a third down type of back, a receiving type of back. He's a guy that you want to throw your screen passes to, get him out in the flat routes, get him out in space, and let him do his damage out there. He looks like he has a frame to add a little bit more strength. I would like to see him add a little bit more strength. Maybe that's why they're not giving him a ton of carries. Maybe he doesn't hold up as well as the other running backs. Or maybe he doesn't run with power like the other guys do, because I know they got a real big guy over there on that team too. But I would just like to see more of him. I want to see pretty much just get more than 9 carries a game. If that's first and foremost, we can do that, then we'd be all right. But yeah, I think he's still got some development to do. He's still got to round out his game and really define what his game is. And to do that, he needs a lot more carries and a lot more production.
Okay. Next running back, EJ Le'Veon Moss from Texas A&M.
Yeah, he was. I got a draftable grade on him. He worried about the injuries. He is coming off a torn ACL for 2024, and I think he's hurt again. He hurt his ankle as well this year. But he's another guy, track background, 10-8, 100-meter dash. Although he doesn't look, his speed is more build up than explosive. Say like usually with guys that are explosive, they take 1-2 steps and then they're up at full speed. It may take him like 3 or 4 steps to get to his full speed. So I don't think he has that initial first step explosiveness. It's still pretty good though. He's still got the first step quickness. He's a guy, 70 carries, 382 yards, 5.5 yards per carry. I watched him versus Notre Dame and Auburn. He's another guy, north and south. He wants to get downhill. He has subtle movement. He doesn't have like dynamic change of direction where he can just jump from one gap to another one. But he has subtle change of directions. He can make little small movements to change the angle on a tackle. He's one of these running backs where I was talking about a sustaining running back. He's going to get you the dirty yards. He's going to get you the 3 yards, the 4 yards, the 3 yards, the 5 yards there, and then possibly when the defense is worn down, then he'll break his long run. But he's a guy that's going to keep you on schedule and keep you, in front of the sticks. That's the type of running back he is. He's a guy that you can rely on for the 20 carries. I mean, he may only get you 80 yards for the 20 carries, but he's going to be a solid guy where you can depend on him. I think he was good in the pass pro. He did a good job IDing blitzes, scanning from left to right, the formation, making sure he's blocking the right guy. And when he's blocking the guy, he's putting his whole body into him. He's not just diving at the guy or making a half-hearted effort. But I think he's a willing blocker, and I think he's a solid blocker for his size. Overall, I would have had a higher grade on him, but I think overall, simple lack of explosiveness and burst kind of holds him back a little bit. He's kind of like, I guess it's fresh in my mind because watching him now. It's kind of like Kenny Gainwell with the Steelers. Does a little bit of everything right, but just doesn't have that burst, that explosiveness to his game. But that doesn't mean he can't make it. He's a bad player, but he's just not that type of player. But I still have a draftable grade on Le'Veon Moss, though.
Andrew, what do you have on Le'Veon Moss from Texas A&M?
I also had a draftable grade. Just want to mention it was a day 3 grade from me, but still draftable. I also had on here a verified measurement that I found 5'10" and 3/4 and 206. So for once, the school didn't embellish too much for their height and weight.
What? Schools don't tell the truth? What?
I know, right? Great piece on, I think it was Wide Left, who talked about the whole freak list too, if you want to really dig into schools embellishing things. But that's a different discussion. But anyway, no, it was one of those things when I did background first again, and I watched him last year. And I don't know if I just completely forgot about him or like I just had a completely blank slate. And you get that where you watch so many of these guys. But I was like, okay, Texas A&M definitely has a type for running back because you think about the A-chains and everything else. There's like obviously all the track background. And I think that maybe affected how I viewed things because I don't know if I went in there thinking I'm going to get like A-chain light. But like I didn't even get A-chain light. I got A-chain empty calories, basically. I felt like, and that's not a knock to Moss. Like I said, it still has a draftable grade. The speed's definitely there. I would love to see. He's another guy, just like Cobb we talked about earlier. I would love to see him get some more receiving work. I think the Texas A&M offense is actually pretty good this year. Marcel Reed's great out quarterback. Concepcion's doing really good at wide receiver. They have another tight end who's doing well. I would just like to see more out of Moss. But I thought perfect size for a running back in the NFL, especially if you're 5'10", over 200 pounds. I think that's perfect. Short area quickness, I think, can be there. Pass blocking's not great. I'd like to see him get a little bit extra strength in his runs and his pass blocking. But, I mean, other than that, I think there's definitely something there where he strikes me just because of his background that he'll be drafted somewhere where, or if he goes somewhere where there's like a running back at the top who's just, I don't want to say wishy-washy, but is not like a top tier guy. And Moss is going to be somebody that like the fantasy community just like gets all over in terms of he's going to compete in training camp, and then you're going to be watching him in I'm going to say spring training. Good Lord. In the preseason. So I definitely think the athletic background leaves you to want to think there's more. He hasn't shown it all, but it's definitely there as like an untapped potential. It's just a matter of getting, I think, in the right spot to get that out of him. I know I've said that for a lot of guys, but Moss is like one hell of an athlete. Like track background's insane. And then you got the size to back it up. A lot of these guys who have that athletic background are either too skinny or too small. Like he's the perfect blend of height and weight. So I definitely think he's got a lot of potential. Like I said, right now he's a day 3 guy for me, but obviously that can change between now and April.
The injury last year was a knee injury?
Yeah, I think he tore his ACL.
Do you think he's back from the ACL? Like, because usually we would say like it takes a season and a half to recover from an ACL. Like, where do you think he is in that, EJ?
Yeah, because I think he got hurt like in the middle of the season or towards the end of the season. So he's probably still getting his groove back from that. I mean, he's healthy enough to play, but I doubt he still feels the same. I don't think it's been a calendar year yet since since that injury. So that could be the case too. That could be the case. He's still working out the knee. So you could see a different version of him, say like next season or something like that.
Yeah, so we covered Moss last year when we did scouting reports, and I believe he got injured the week after we covered it. So I hope that the podcast isn't a curse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's already hurt, so that's before we went on, so it's not our fault.
That's right, because
he got hurt last.
He's also dealing with an ankle. Right?
Yeah, the ankle, I was just reading, they said it's going to be a significant time, and the ACL was in November. So,
okay.
So that's another thing. I did have that durability was an issue. I mean, it kind of stinks when you're not getting a lot of usage and you've already got a torn ACL and an MCL, and now you got an ankle injury. So, not great, but.
Okay. College All-Star. It sounds like the beginning of this podcast, the college all-star circuit is critical to the running backs on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Right? To show that you've recovered from your injuries and to show what you can do in an offensive scheme that may not be what you were stuck with in college. So, EJ, Rahsul Faison from South Carolina, I believe we previewed South Carolina. This might be the oldest player in the draft.
This guy's this guy's in year 7 of college right now. So he'll be like a 26 or 27-year-old rookie if he actually makes it to the league. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. I don't have a draftable grade on this guy. Partly a big reason is because of the age, because who's going to draft a 27, 26-year-old rookie running back who doesn't have outstanding traits or production. But he's got good straight line speed. He's got good size for the position. He's good. He works good in what South Carolina asked him to do. He give him the ball, asked him to run downhill, be physical. But it's just that there's no real wow traits to him, and that age is really going to be tough for a team to pull a trigger on using actual draft capital on him. Like as free agency comes on, maybe he'll make it on a 53 as a free agent or something like that. But I don't see anybody using draft capital on him.
Andrew.
Yeah, when you're going to be 26 years old when you're drafted, and especially at a running back position, like he spent a couple years where academically ineligible and stuff like that, so he doesn't have like the wear and tear of a 7-year guy at college. But whenever guys stick around that long, even with the academic stuff that kind of made them get the extra years of eligibility, there's a reason they haven't moved on to the pros at that point. Not saying like, and there's guys that stick around for forever, like the most famous example being Jordan Shipley getting 800 years of eligibility, and Case Keenum and all that. They kept getting hurt. But no, I don't. I think he's my lowest graded running back at this point. He is. So age is a big thing there. I just thought he was kind of a stiff mover. Didn't really have a lot of short area quickness I had down here. I thought he shows promise as a pass blocker. He could be physical, but route running's an issue. Moves in space, like I said, short area quickness. All of that paired with the age, I think is going to be really tough for him to overcome. So yeah, like I'm with EJ. Unfortunately, Mr. Faison, I'm not too high on at the moment.
That's all right. We will move on to late add to the podcast. Noah Whittington from Oregon. We thought that this might be Mekhi Hughes in summer scouting, but I believe Hughes has applied for a red shirt, and we're talking about Noah Whittington instead. Andrew, what do you have on Noah Whittington?
Again, he was another guy I kind of went into this like excited to watch, and then I was like, oh, okay, they're not using him as much as they are some others. Like the Mekhi Hughes thing really threw, I think, everybody off through a loop, and I think they've had a lot of younger freshman, sophomore guys step up. I have verified size on Whittington. Again, another instance where they didn't get too far off, 5'7" and 5'8", 202 pounds. 2-star recruit. Originally was a wide receiver coming out of high school. Went to Western Kentucky, transferred to Oregon. Does have an ACL tear in his record in 2023, so he's a couple years removed from that, so that's not too much of an issue at this point. As far as traits go, I got good vision down on here, decent change of direction skills. I think that comes from his background being a receiver. Route running I thought could have been a little bit better, but obviously if you're not doing that as much as you were in high school, especially in high school, you're not teaching the crispest routes either. Contact balance I thought was pretty good for his size, protects the ball. Long speed I thought could have been a little bit better. I thought the gas tank hasn't really been tested because I don't think he's been used that much this year as much as you would have thought. But yeah, I mean, he got a draftable grade from me. I think it was day 3. Yeah, he snuck in there with a day 3 grade from me. So he's a fun piece in the Oregon offense. Is not as used as much as some other guys, but I think he's a decent guy for what they're using him at this point.
EJ, what do you have on Noah Whittington from Oregon?
Yeah, another guy, limited production. They got him in like a 3-man rotation at running back there, so it's few and far between where snaps where you see him. He doesn't get a whole lot of snaps in a row, but only 26 carries for 211 yards on the season, only 5 catches. They're not using him a lot. They're using him very sparingly. I think he has the capacity to do a little bit more. I do, like Andrew said, I like his vision. I like the speed at which he makes his decisions when he gets the ball in his hands, because he can survey the line and then he picks his hole and then he goes. So I like the quickness. I like the change of direction. I like he has a little bit of burst to get through, initial burst to get through the line. I think he can function as a receiver, even though they don't ask him to do it. Like back in high school, I think he caught like 60 balls, not balls. But and I don't know if that's one season or that's total year, total high school career. But I think he has that in his bag. He's another guy where if he were to go to the Senior Bowl or Shrine Bowl or something like that, that would be big for him because it would take him out the environment that he's in now. Or if Oregon were to give him, an increase in workload, then we could see a little bit more. I think he would be a little bit more productive. But the size limitations show up sometimes as a pass protector. Sometimes he just the arms aren't long enough to where he's trying to block a linebacker. The linebacker just reaches him before he can reach the linebacker. It's just his arms just aren't long enough. He can't reach. There are other instances where he can just he has a successful block and he just throws his shoulder into the guy. But I don't think he can block. I don't think he can block in the traditional sense where you want to throw your hands into that guy's chest. He's not big enough for that. So he's going to have to get it however he can get it, like throwing your body into somebody, throwing your shoulder into somebody like that. Or better yet, don't keep him in the pass block, send him out on the route. That's probably the best way to do it. But he's a guy we just need to see more of. I think he is draftable. At the very least, I think he can be a kick returner in the league. And then from there, he can grow into maybe a third down back or something like that. But we just need to see a little bit more production out of him, a little bit more usage out of him.
Okay. Last running back, EJ.
Mm-hmm.
Kaytron Allen from Penn State.
Yes, I have a draftable grade. Well, this is the highest draftable grade I got from this group. When I was watching him, he gave me David Montgomery vibes. I think he is. I like the vision. I like the vision a lot. I think he has excellent vision. What he does is he sets up his blocks, and it almost looks like he sees it before it's about to happen. He sets up his blocks very nicely. He has decent quickness. I think it's fluidity with him. He got very, very fluid movement. It's not explosive, but it's fluid, and he makes guys miss. He doesn't have. I think he's the best running back on Penn State, the best true running back at Penn State, but he's not the best athlete at running back. That's what it is. Like if you could mix him and Nick Singleton together, I swear you would have Saquon Barkley. But this guy, he's got all the skill sets that you want in a running back. Another guy that's a sustaining running back. He can get you the dirty yards. He can get you the 4 and 5 yard carries. You can give him 20 carries per game. I think he's built like that to carry that type of workload. And I think he has the shiftiness. I think he has the vision. I think he has the all around skill set to carry a good workload in the NFL. From what I wrote down about him is, I think, pretty much just lacks long speed and explosiveness. This guy, he had 1,100 yards rushing last season, and 467 so far this year, 6.7 yards per carry, which is a good average. He gets positive yards on every touch. It seems like he does. What he does is he falls forward. He makes another thing I like with running backs. He makes the first guy miss. Even though he's not a high-level athlete, not explosive like that, but he still makes the first guy miss. That means he just has the lateral quickness. He has the vision to know where to get his yardage at. So, and I like the fact that he keeps his eye when they run zone. He always keeps his eye open for the cutback lane. That means he's reading the flow of the offensive line. He's reading the flow of the defense well, and he knows where he can make the cutbacks and where he knows to press outside even more. So it shows that he's thinking the game. That shows that he sees the game very well. So that shows like the awareness and smartness of a player, the awareness and smartness that he has. So. Overall, with Kaytron Allen, I think he's a high-level, highly skilled running back, just not a highly athletic running back.
How high is your draftable grade on him? Day 2 or day 3?
Day 2.
Okay.
Take him day 2, yeah. So like usually somewhere around that late day 2 range, I think somebody would grab him.
Okay, Andrew, Kaytron Allen from Penn State.
A little bit of background. I'll make it about me for a second. Before I got to cover the Bucs and the Vikings for USA Today, my foot in the door with them came from the late Mark Lane, who got me on with Nittany Lions Wire when they started up, and I got to be part of them for their 2022 season. So I got to watch Abdul Carter as a freshman. I've got to watch Kaytron Allen as a freshman, Singleton, that whole freshman class, Drew Aller. is fantastic. But the running backs, like that duo was special, and you could tell that right away, even as freshmen. And Singleton obviously was the more flashy guy. Like he was definitely the lightning to Kaytron Allen's thunder. But in terms of what you've seen the last 3-4 years from him, the sustained success has definitely come from Allen, whereas Singleton's definitely more of that flash in the pan home run guy. Kaytron Allen's happy getting you consistent singles and doubles nonstop. And I think that's something that is not going to make your SportsCenter top 10s. It's not going to make your highlights. But it makes for a really good PFF grade, as much as they are talked about lately. Verified measurements, 5'11", and 3/8, 216. So again, shout out Penn State for not being too bad with that. Captain of his team in high school, Under Armour All-American, 4-star. He has not changed his running style. Like I hadn't really watched him since I covered the team in 2022. He has not changed at all. He is still a physical runner. He still keeps his legs moving. I still wish Penn State would pass him the ball a little bit more because despite how big he is and clunky he looks, I think he's a better receiver than Nick Singleton is. And that was the case as a freshman too. Super durable. He's not going to wow you in open space in terms of like his short area quickness or his moves. But like at the same time, you want a guy who's going to turn a 1 or 2 yard carry at the where contact starts and turn it into a 3-4-5 because he keeps his legs moving and falls forward. Kaytron Allen's your guy. Like he is definitely somebody. Like for me, he got a grade. It was it was a middle day 2 grade, so he's kind of like in that top around 3 for me. Like he's somebody that like I cover the Vikings and they keep talking about maybe adding another running back to the rotation, or the Bucks have Rachaad White, who's going to be a free agent. Kaytron Allen's someone who could come into either one of those teams and have a meaningful role right away. Especially the Bucks in that Rachaad White role where you use him at the goal line, use him a little bit in pass blocking out wide. Allen, so far out of all the guys we watched, he's the highest graded guy both last week and this week. No, it was a lot of fun to go back and watch him, and you can tell. Personally, I'm not the biggest Penn State fan, but Allen was a lot of fun to watch as a freshman, and he's gotten a little bit better since then. He's still the same guy, but he's just gotten a lot stronger, a little bit more consistent. And I think he's anybody that any NFL team would want in their rotation. I don't think he's going to be a lead guy, but if you want to have somebody who brings a smash and, like I said, thunder to a lightning role that you've already got, I think he'd be perfect.
Yeah, and to build on that, Andrew, I have a team building philosophy that says a good general manager will draft a running back and a linebacker every draft, right? Because you want running backs in their first contract. So when, let's say, a running back graduates to contract 2, you have 2 running backs on the roster behind them that are still in their rookie deal. And I find it fascinating, like at the NFL level, where let's say you exit 2025, and then you exit last season, you come into this season, and like Buffalo, for example, brought in it's the same running back, right? So Buffalo's running back room is identical this year as it was last year, but the guys have plateaued. We're not getting anything after James Cook, and it's like you needed to inject something in the room every draft. And you'll always look better the next year, right? It'll always be better next year than it will this year. But if you just have that structure, and same thing with the linebacker room, you need those guys to play special teams, but you don't want to be paying your backup linebacker second contract money.
Yep.
That's a gym team building philosophy.
Well, and to your point, I was looking, I wanted to make sure the years matched up because I thought they did. Jason Light did that with the Bucks, where drafted Rachaad White in 22, signed Sean Tucker as a UDFA in 23, drafted Bucky Irving last year. So those are 3 straight years you've brought in guys. And like you said, now White's entering into the last year of his contract. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I think he's going to be a very complicated case where he could be an RB1 for someone, or he could stay in Tampa and be the perfect complement with Bucky Irving. But again, because you've got Sean Tucker and you've got Bucky there, you have more flexibility now to kind of either stick with him and bring him back or move on, and you've got the backups there. So no, the Bucs have done what you're suggesting, and they're now the number one team in the NFC right now and have an offense that's been able to withstand 7 of their 11 starters missing at this point, and you don't notice it. And I think that's because you have that depth there.
Yeah, and plus you increase the competition in your room, because like a young, hungry rookie that's looking to take somebody's job, that's going to light a fire under the guys that's already there. So that's how you get you're going to get increased production no matter where you get it from. Either it's going to come from the guys that's already there, or it's going to come from the rookie. So yeah, it's always good to bring new blood in.
And so it's interesting to that point, EJ. So Buffalo drafted Jackson Hawes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tight end. And the best blocking tight end in the draft. Buffalo's tight end coach said it's the best blocking tight end he's ever seen.
Mm.
And Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid had their best training camp ever.
There you go. Like, they don't want to lose their job to a rookie. Nobody wants to lose their job to a rookie, so they want to step it up.
Right. So why don't we pause for a quick second for podcaster identification? EJ, do you want to let everybody know who you are and how they can find all of your draft content?
Yeah, you can find me pretty much every Thursday here. Mrs. Our Relevant Podcast, 9:00. Pretty much right now we're breaking it down running back position. But pretty much we'll be doing every position as long as the draft season is going along. You can then also find me on X doing player breakdowns, scheme breakdowns, pretty much film-based opinions. So pretty much no hot takes, no clickbait, no rage bait. Pretty much what you see is what you get. If you like that type of thing, give me a follow.
Andrew.
Yeah, you can find me like I just talked about, Bucks and Vikings. I cover them for USA Today on their wire sites. My timeline's mostly NFL draft and Bucks. Every Friday I put out. I also have a Substack, Prototypes and Outliers. Fridays I put out a viewing guide for prospects. Like if you want to watch games throughout the day from noon to 10. Sometimes the 10 games aren't very exciting for prospects, but you just can enjoy some good college football. And then if you're a Bucs fan and you're listening, I let you know, hey, this is what the team's needs are at this point, and these are who you can watch throughout the day. So nice little mix of NFL and NFL draft. And if you look at my timeline right now, for the last 28 hours, I've been getting dragged because I defended PFF. So if you want a good laugh, you can look at the replies of that account. And there have been some good memes that were worth saving, but then there's also a lot of people that need to find Jesus, I've learned as well. So I'm having a very good, entertaining time on Twitter for the last day and a half. And I say that as the least religious person here. Not to get on that topic, but hey.
I don't think you can be less religious than me.
Okay, well, like I said, these people, I've had it. The joke was on the PFF draft show was, Trevor Sikkema said, you don't want to be the person the person of the day on Twitter. I think Trevor had that baton, and I punched him in the nads, and I said, no, give it to me. And I'm happy to give it to the next person. So whoever wants to take it from me would be fantastic.
So my inspiration for creating a draft simulator was in part because of the PFF simulator. So I do have some issues with the PFF simulator. But PFF grades give us a reasonable framework.
Yes.
Right? The grades aren't the be-all, end-all, but if you're looking for when did a player have a good game or a bad game, if you look for a deviation in the PFF grade, the deviation in the grade is more important than the grade itself. If you see 60, 60, 60, 80, you know that that's a deviation. Or if you see 70, 70, 70, 50, you know that there's a deviation, and then you have to watch the film to learn why. So welcome to Draft Professor, everybody. The closest thing I get to idol worship is watching the Buffalo Bills. So that's my religious take or my religious response to Andrew. But I'm generally against all forms of idol worship, other than the fact that I think EJ and Andrew are really good podcasters. But I'm not ready to put you at deity status.
I don't want that type of pressure.
No.
We'll work on blueprints for the statue. Don't worry.
Yeah. So, I had, it's funny. I wanted to, when we were doing Kaytron Allen, I have a Penn State story, but I'll tell that a different day because we still have to cover Singleton. So ask me my Penn State story when we do Nick Singleton. But we're here every day at the Draft Professor, covering the draft like nobody else. Right now, we're breaking down positions. If you want to see which positions are covered on which podcast, go to NFL Draft Fanatic. No, I am Fanatic. That is the Draft Professor account on Twitter. The pinned post has the schedule kind of thing. But to give you a quick summary, EJ did running backs tonight. You can catch EJ doing tight ends tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern kind of thing. There's 3 defensive line podcasts. There's 2 offensive line, 2 corner, a wide receiver, and a safety podcast, and a running back podcast. That's basically the summary. Breaking down the positions, just like you saw EJ and Andrew do. We're basically breaking down the draft class, 8 players per podcast. So the math that I have is that EJ and Andrew, 4 out of the 8 running backs week 1 had a draftable grade. 4 out of 8 week 2 had a draftable grade. We still have 24 more left to look at. So and on average, 25 get drafted. So we still have 24 left to cover, and we already have 8 draftable grades. But here are the running backs next week. Desmond Reed from Pittsburgh, Jamarian Miller from Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
Dante Dowdle from Kentucky.
Okay.
Dylan Edwards from Kansas State. I know that there was a comment that he's injured. If we got to push him out one more week to buy him some time, we can. Quintravian Wisner from Texas.
Wisner, yeah, Quintravian
Wisner, thank you. Okay, and then I went to PFF because we were 3 running backs short, and I was looking for running backs with a high PFF grade. So this is going to be a box of chocolates because I'm not anybody podcast on the next 3. Davin Booth from Mississippi State, Tyree Walker from Cincinnati, and Greg DeRozier from Memphis.
Never heard of any of them.
Yeah, and they had what those last 3 have in common is they had high PFF grades.
Well, we're gonna see.
We are gonna learn what's inside that box of chocolates.
Okay, I'm with it.
Kind of thing. So if you're interested in more of this content, if you can go to YouTube and hit that subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. It's the best thank you can give for being here, and it costs you nothing except a mouse click. We're going to be here every day up until April when the NFL draft happens, and we'll be doing mock drafts with each other. There's 100 people at the Draft Professor, so we can get a lot of different takes. That's kind of who we are. And we definitely appreciate you stopping by to check out our podcast. So for EJ, Andrew, myself, the 100 plus podcasters at the Draft Professor, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. And we'll see you on a podcast again next week.